She was born on June 1, 1926, in the charity ward of the Los Angeles General Hospital. Her name was Norma Jean Mortensen, and on her birth certificate, the space for father was left blank. Her mother Gladys was a film cutter who suffered from severe mental illness, and just 2 weeks after giving birth, she handed the baby over to a foster family. By the time Norma Jean turned 7, her mother had been institutionalized with paranoid schizophrenia, and the little girl had been declared a ward of the state. Over the next 9 years, Norma Jean was passed through 11 different foster homes and 1 orphanage. In several of those homes, she was sexually abused. She would later recall standing at the gates of the Los Angeles orphans' home, crying, "Please don't make me go inside. I'm not an orphan. My mother isn't dead." But the door closed behind her anyway. The only escape she had was the movie theater. Foster families would send her there to get her out of the house, and she would sit in the dark for hours, watching Jean Harlow and Joan Crawford on screen. That was when, for the first time, she whispered to herself the impossible thought, "I want to be one of them." When she said it out loud at school, the other children laughed. She was tall, skinny, and wore second-hand clothes. At 16, the foster family she was living with had to leave California, and the law would not let them take her. To avoid being sent back to the orphanage, she was married off to a 21-year-old neighbor named James Doherty. While he was away at war, she took a job at a munitions factory spraying airplane parts, and that was where, in 1944, an army photographer named David Conover snapped her picture. The photographs led to modeling, and modeling led, in 1946, to a 6-month contract with 20th Century Fox. She changed her name to Marilyn Monroe. But within a year, the studio dropped her. Head executive Darryl Zanuck said she had no future. She signed with Columbia Pictures in 1948. 6 months later, they dropped her too. By the age of 22, the orphan girl who had whispered, "I want to be one of them," had been rejected by the 2 biggest studios in Hollywood. She went back to modeling. She posed nude for a calendar photographer for $50 because she had no money for rent. She kept showing up at every audition, every party, every screen test. Slowly, the small parts came. All About Eve, The Asphalt Jungle. Then in 1953, 2 films released the same year, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire, turned her into the biggest star on earth. By 1962, the girl from the Los Angeles orphanage had become the most photographed woman in the world, and her films had grossed $200 million, the equivalent of $2 billion today. She once said it, "I knew I belonged to the public and to the world, not because I was talented or even beautiful, but because I had never belonged to anything or anyone else." The girl nobody wanted had become the woman the whole world refused to forget, because the deepest hunger to be loved is born in the place where love was once denied.